Mike Adams, who, I don't know, moved to Austin 6-8 months ago, and just the last few months is, you know, announced, hey, I live in Austin. I know how it is to be a public figure and want to be left alone. And he lives outside Austin, and the last few days couldn't come on because he was battling fires to not burn down his place. Now he's at a rancher's outside where he lives in Smithville, helping them deal with what's happening. I talked to Shane Steiner this morning of the Steiner family, on a bunch of ranches around town, and the fire line's right along the line of their ranch. They're fighting to keep that off their ranch right now. Their big housing development has pretty much knocked out most of the fires over there, thank God. Only 27 homes burned down. And I got some intel, but I may be able to release it later. They're still looking at it about what did that over there at Steiner Ranch. But that's interesting. But joining us is Mike Adams. And out of the gates, this was in the Gonzales Canyon yesterday. And then we called some firefighters and confirmed it. That indeed the feds took over Tuesday, though Perry said it was Wednesday. And just like in Katrina, where they came in and cut communications lines at the police station, cut down their radio tower, that's CBS News. Just like that happened, FEMA, the headline at Infowars.com, they want to take control of the situation. FEMA forces firefighters to stand down in Texas. And they just turned them back and told them no. We're in command, and now Mike Adams has written an article, as wildfires rage across Texas, feds take control, and Scuttle volunteer firefighters. So we've got that report at naturalnews.com and Infowars.com, and we've got more on that. But joining us via video Skype is Mike Adams. Mike, thank you for coming on with us.
Hey, Alex, thanks for having me on. Good to join you today.
You bet. So tell us what it's been like with you trying to keep your place safe, and now you're helping your neighbor. You're out in the middle of it.
Well, my place fortunately wasn't really in the big target zone of the fires. So once I knew my place was safe, I headed out east to Smithville, where I'm calling you from Smithville right now. That's why we have a different background here, maybe even a better connection than usual. But I know I have a good friend out in Smithville, and I've been working with him to protect his ranch. We were running machinery yesterday, bulldozers and excavators, and working to create fire breaks, and talking with local ranchers. And the word is, the ranchers, they were not wanting to evacuate at all. They were going to stay there and defend their places, and they didn't want the feds to come in and tell them what to do. So we had farmers running their tractors, plowing in the grass fields so that the fields wouldn't catch on fire. And I can tell you today, Alex, that some of the firefighting that's been the most effective has been individual ranchers and farmers who just began bulldozing trees and tearing up fields to make a fire break. In fact, there's a whole section of South Bastrop and South Smithville that is not on fire today because of a particular rancher, and I don't have his name, who stopped a fire at his front door just yesterday. So the ranchers and the local community is what's solving the problem here. The churches have opened their doors and taken in the refugees and evacuees. The YMCA is open. The public school here has opened up for evacuees. And now the feds come in and want to take over, and the fear is they're only going to make things worse.
Well, Mike, again, you're an eyewitness to this. You're out there in Bastrop. You're in Smithville. And that's the reports I've gotten as well. Confirmed that firefighters showed up with bulldozers, bobcats on the back of trailers. They showed up with their shovels by the thousands, ready to dig fire breaks. And the feds told them, and this is confirmed now, we're not doing fire breaks. We're not building earth dams against the fire. We're only, quote, squirting water. It's a quote. If it doesn't squirt water, we don't want it. But everybody knows, I'm not a firefighter, and I know, with big fires out of control, what you do is in the direction of the wind, you meet it and try to defeat it at that point. You don't run around the edges spraying water on it. And the fact that they would turn back thousands of people and say, hey, we're the feds, we don't want you here, because it's all about their power, is just outrageous.
It is, and you got to understand, especially for your listeners, to set the right context. Central Texas is a place of self-reliance and relying on your neighbors and your local community. People here in Smithville, where I am today, they don't rely on the feds and they don't call 911, Alex. If there's trouble, they take care of it themselves, whether it's burglaries or fires or anything. And so they immediately jumped into action. You know, if you look at what burned down in Austin and west of Austin and now to the east of Austin, it was mostly the neighborhoods, high-density housing, houses built out of a lot of plywood and not really fire-resistant and built in forests. And, you know, my heart goes out to those people. But many of those people, all they could do was really flee. They didn't have the equipment. They didn't have the farming know-how, the practical knowledge that the ranchers have, because ranchers have to fight for their livelihoods every single day. And so that's what they're doing. And you know, the feds should just let these people do their jobs and protect their farms and get out of the way, frankly.
Well, that's what Ron Paul has said about these different hurricanes. I mean, FEMA showed up 5.5 years ago. It's on record. And cut the police communications. That's why the cops all wandered off. And then went and cut the lines at the radio tower. And we've interviewed the sheriff. We've interviewed other officials. It's been on national news. They had to post armed guards around their communications towers just to keep power. FEMA is all about power grabs. So they take our National Guard away. They federalize them. What's left is trained to take on veterans and gun owners as a domestic military force. And so they take away the governor's resources. The governor then begs for FEMA to come in. FEMA comes in and says, we don't want all these local firefighters and people here trying to help us. Just go home. We're going to fly around with our helicopters and dump water on it, which is good. But again, it's this control freak mentality of totally centralizing control and setting the precedent that we're the boss. And so many times when there's a disaster, FEMA rolls in and says, hey, your house isn't in trouble. Give me your guns. And I just hope they don't start doing that here, because if the winds kick back up, this stuff's going to accelerate. As you know, these fires are still out of control everywhere, and it's like Mordor outside. I mean, it's black outside with the smoke.
It was very black. I posted some photos. There are lots of photos out there. But, you know, on the firearms issue, the very first thing that I did when I was leaving my place to head out east, I grabbed my farm rifle, threw it in the car, and headed out. And I noticed a lot of people are open carrying firearms, and it's not a problem. There has been no looting. There has been no crime. There are firearms everywhere. The ranchers have them on their hips. People are out here getting the job done, protecting property, wearing their firearms, and there are no crime problems whatsoever. And I think it's because everybody knows the ranchers are well armed, but they're also upstanding, high-integrity citizens who are solution-oriented. So if FEMA tries to come in and you know, take away firearms, forget it. That's not going to happen in Central Texas.
Well, that's what's beautiful about this. Farmers and ranchers were intimidated into hiding their guns over the years, but now the movement to say, these are my guns, they're not in the closet. 1776 is coming out of the closet. And it's time for all of us that love liberty to stop being ashamed of it and to stop hiding it. We need to get out in the open and say, hey, it's not bad to be into freedom. It's not bad to have a lemonade stand. It's not bad to have a garage sale. It's not bad to have a garden. It's not bad to protect your own property. It's bad to try to stop that. Let me ask you that question, Mike Adams, out there with evil Texans that have their own bulldozers protecting their own property, wearing firearms openly. This has got to be upsetting the FEMA people that are running around turning back firefighters and ordering them not to help because you've got to be, I guess, under the federal La Reconquista operation to be part of it. What do you think of Rick Perry? It turns out cut the firefighting budget from $30 million down to $7 million. Again, I'm not for big government, but more and more of our taxes go for big boondoggles, 8,000 miles of toll roads, forced shots, taxpayer paid for, millions of dollars in that program. But getting rid of firefighters, essential things. Shouldn't Perry be saying, I want our National Guard back, instead of being all over the world helping grow opium in Afghanistan?
Yeah, well, I'm of the belief, Alex, that if government would just take less from us, we could solve our own firefighting problems and our own local problems without government interference and without having to apply for FEMA grants to reimburse us for the expenses. You know, you got to look at ranchers and farmers out here. They have water trucks. They have bulldozers. They have equipment. I mean, I'm not saying they're all professional firefighters, but there are thousands of volunteer firefighters, and they have to buy their own equipment in many cases, Alex. So if they had more money that wasn't taken away by the government, then obviously they could afford to buy more of their own equipment and be more effective firefighters.
Well, in most areas of Texas and other rural areas, most places don't have a regular fire department. It is a volunteer fire department, and they go in houses and fight fires and get killed, and it's just the same thing as a big city fire department. It's just that a lot of times the community pays for the trucks, or citizens have to pay for them themselves and go through all the training because they need a fire department. And but they're looked down upon by our lords at FEMA. But at the end of the day, Mike, isn't it about the system not wanting to send the message that own guns and protect yourself, know your neighbors, grow your own food, have your own chickens, have your own lemonade stands, have your own swap meets, anything that's independent, anything that's normal human activity instead of the big corporate, big box wastelands is under attack, and that's why they're so angry about the idea of citizen posses, militias. That idea of civil defense is anathema because the feds want to get rid of state response, as they certainly don't want individuals at the county level.
Well, yeah, the overall tone is one of how dare you be self-reliant? How dare you grow your own food or own your own gold or be able to defend your property and your family with firearms if you're out in the country? You know, how dare you try to put out your own fires? How dare you run your own finances or save your own money? You got to depend on Social Security, which, of course, as we know, is a complete failure. So the tone of the feds, and I apologize for the background noise. Maybe FEMA has found me and they're going to try to take something away now. But the overall tone is that the feds really don't want people to be self-reliant. It's a nanny state system. They want you to be enslaved by the medical system, to the agriculture system, to the police system. They do not want self-reliance at all.
Well, that's it. And that's why I've read they're actually out in the countryside trying to order people on their own farms and ranches off of it. And a lot of the ranchers are just ignoring them. Those ranchers know a lot more than, you know, the sheriff's deputy under FEMA orders to tell you to get off your property. And if people die on their own property, that's their business. This is what freedom is all about. And at the end of the day, the government can't and won't protect you. And that's been proven yet again. Most of these fires burning out of control. Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thanks for having me on, Alex. Great to join you.
We'll talk to you again soon.